Hello everyone, welcome to Global Government News. Today is Wednesday, December 8th, 2010, and I'm Darko. Thank you for joining me in this third and final part of this news bulletin. Man, I just had a bunch of news articles that I've been collecting over the past week, and it ends up happening a lot of times where I just can't get to it. There's just not enough time. So I just decided to make a third part, which I don't normally do. And you know what, if you can't get to it today, I understand, just, whenever. If you get to it tomorrow, the next day, I surely appreciate it. So either way, new listeners, please visit my website, www.ggnonline.com. That's ggnonline.com. I just finished up with this last article, Daily Annoyed Gun Registry Database not running. So I guess Mayor Daley up here in the mafia-owned city of Chicago is, crying and whining, having a temper tantrum because every gun isn't registered. Every gun in every household isn't registered. So, but like I was leaving off my last video, I did visit Chicago recently after not being there for a long time, and I don't know what the hell they were or who they were working for. My guess would be the city of Chicago and possibly Homeland Security. But we had, after 2 hours of walking around, looking at cameras, surveillance, all kinds of like little apparatuses, just really, being investigative without, breaking, trespassing or anything like that, or damaging private property or public property. We were just moseying along the city and observing. And with a keen eye to, like I said, Masonic symbolism and surveillance grids and Big Brothers type stuff. And we were tracked. After 2 hours, they finally, I told my friend, we've been walking along throughout Chicago, downtown, long enough to where they probably realize, or they probably think that we're terrorists or something, because we're actually looking around and watching and looking at and observing some of this crazy stuff that you can see down there, like these statues of that, and it basically holding a fasci, like the little fascist symbol with the axe and that, up there with Columbus, the guy who supposedly discovered America, and the symbol is symbols that are all along around that particular statue. But we had, like I said, the army guy following us, and then all of a sudden, once we crossed the street, went through the Centennial Park, oh God, that thing was just awful, god-awful. It was nothing but corporations, and it was nothing but philanthropy and eugenicists, and families and millionaires, billionaires, all donating this corporate park. It was just ugly. I didn't like any of it. It just was very creepy to me, and especially the nice little Masonic little statue that they have with all the names of people who contributed to Centennial Park. But so we had a guy follow us through there, and then it got really creepy when we got in front of this one building where basically, man, I wish I could remember the name of the building. I had it when I came home, but I was showing my friend how, if you look on this, there's this one particular building, and it used to be a private building, now it's public, but it has basically a whole map of the entire history and how the real history has been handed down from the ancient Babylonian times to the Romans, or sorry, to the Egyptians, to the Romans, to the Greeks, and on, this book of knowledge. And they had these deities and that. And it was right there on a skyscraper in downtown. And as soon as I seen it, I was like, oh, I knew what this was. And I was just talking about it. And then I looked over and I seen this young man that was about 5 years younger than me. And he was either a college student or something, but either way, he wasn't moving. He was sitting there watching us and listening to us, everything that we said. And I looked over at him, he looked right at me, let me know that he was there for us. And so we moved on, and after that, we still had another person follow us. So there was almost 5 people throughout the city within 3 hours following us, every move. Even people that came up to us looking for change. I mean, it was just weird. We were at this one little place by the bridge where it was talking about the Great Chicago Fire, and it was at that moment that my friend and I realized that the whole Chicago Fire itself was a conspiracy theory, and it was all a sham, right? Because they said they did it in order to rebuild the city, right? They got to destroy things in order to rebuild it in their image. Referring to the elitists, the eugenicists, the globalists. And right at that point, we had an individual come right up to us, bypass everybody, all the way from across the street, and asked us for change. And then I was like, man, dude, this is crazy. So anyways, we're going to fly through this next 10 minutes, man. I'm just going to read these headlines for you. All the links will be posted. I just want to finish up and share that experience with you because it was very creepy and surreal. And you don't know it unless you have eyes to see it, as the Masons themselves would put it. Was John Lennon's murder, Mark Chapman, a CIA hitman, 30 years on. There's an extraordinary new theory, and you can go check this out. Obviously I think it was. I don't think it was just some insane fan. I think the guy was actually a threat to the powers that be. Critics of Big Sis Wal-Mart spy campaign branded insane. That's right. And what has been dubbed the Battle of Wal-Mart by the New York Observer, the controversy over Big Sis. And it says messages encouraging shoppers to report suspicious activity. I've been reporting on this to see something, say something. I've been reporting on this for a couple months now. And I guess anybody that rebels against it is considered insane. So we're going to move on here. Battle of Walmart. Will retailer blow Christmas with DHS deal? And you go through here and check this out more on Walmart and Homeland Security showing these new videos to rat out your fellow slave. Fingerprint scanner use raises privacy concerns in North Carolina. Next month, 13 law enforcement agencies in the region will begin using a new handheld device that lets an officer scan a person's fingerprints and seek a match in an electronic database, all without going anywhere. And why would you not want this? Well, if you want to be a freeman and you don't have a name and you don't have a fingerprint, then you're going to have a hard time. So all this stuff is just making it really, really hard for people that really want to be free. So this next one up here is Electromagnetic Pulse EMP Defense Council, founded in San Diego, California on Pearl Harbor Day. EMP Defense Council inaugurated to prepare the U.S. for a, quote, nuclear EMP strike. Wow, guys! If you haven't seen that show Jericho, I recommend watching it. It's very, 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 very telling as to our future here in the great corporation known as the USA. False flag big time. That's what the whole show was about. Spraying the skies, 1975 U.S. patent for powder contrail generation. And then you go down here. There was actually patents from 1927 for the process of producing smoke clouds from a moving aircraft. 1927, guys. So when people tell you that it's all just persistent contrails, you can just tell them that since planes have been in the air, those things have been designed for military defense purposes, for bombs and for weather modification. U.S. regulators propose requiring backup cameras in all new cars by 2014, and they'll probably get them. Cops, driver's license, official fed info to identity thieves. So there you go. County sues farmer for growing too many crops. Just horrible stuff. Georgia farmers being sued by the county, for growing too many vegetables on its land, in a case local food critics say is indicative of the backwardness of many local zoning laws. So I'm going to move on here to guess who's paying for the Greece bailout. That's right, you. This is actually an older article here, but you can go in there and check it out, talking about the U.S. supplies 20% of the IMF funding, and I always thought it was 50%, but either way, it's still a decent share. Spain, Prime Minister, Madrid, Barcelona airports to be privatized. Big news, Spanish government plans to privatize the country's top 2 airports as part of a series of measures seeking to jumpstart anemic economic growth. And moving on here, derivatives trading tally $700 trillion. Global trading, or global market for transferring risk, whether through over-the-counter swaps or exchange-traded futures and options, could represent a $700 trillion industry's year-end with an annual turnover of $3.7 quadrillion, according to a report by independent research. And I believe they were supposed to pass a law that made it so that these derivatives, these credit default swaps and that, could be have some kind of oversight. Basically, you can track them, because as of right now, they don't know how much money there really is in derivatives. I mean, that's just a number. It's like the bailout number. They just made it up. I mean, it's literally what they said in the House or in the Congress. They made it up. Just a real big number, and that was from them, not from me. I'm not saying that. They just pulled it out of the air. So I'm sure they're just pulling this out of the air too. It's a lot of money, dude, that nobody knows, and it's really very high risk. So, and I thought that Dodd passed the bill, but then I think they actually withdrew this part where they, as far as regulating derivatives, I think they actually removed that. If anybody knows, please leave it in the comment board as far as leaving an update. Further increases in oil prices forecasted. Well, in the news industry, I guess you're going to have typos, but either way, it doesn't really matter because it gives you information here that could be useful. An American investment bank has predicted oil prices to pass $100 per barrel in the first 6 months of the next year and $120 a barrel before the end of 2012. And this is according to a monthly report by J.P. Morgan on the oil market. On the price of U.S. sweet oil and North Sea Brent crude will amount to $93 a barrel and $95 per barrel respectively this year. So not good news for travelers, those who have to drive long distances to work. Americans strongly oppose proposed gas tax hike. Well, why not, right? Because the gas prices are going up. But it's all in the name of global warming. Transport strike brings Athens to a halt. Public transport has come to a halt in Athens as union workers slap the Greek capital with crippling strikes and protests to the government's austerity measures. Moving on, Finnair struggles to fly amid strike. Finland's aviation unions have expanded their week-long strike over wages and work conditions, forcing the country's national carrier Finnair to cancel a further 180 flights. Next up, for protests in the world, Italian police clash with protesters. Clashes have broken out outside Italy's La Scala Opera House in Milan between Italian police forces and demonstrators protesting against proposed budget cuts in arts and education. G20 activist wins £30,000 compensation for getting his teeth knocked out. He was just an innocent bystander, I guess, and the police just beat him down. So I guess maybe if he was an actual protester, it would have been legitimate to beat his face into a pulp. Protests over U.S.-Korea or South Korea trade deal, and talking about free trade. We've heard that, haven't we? NAFTA and that, free trade. EU backs Russia's bid to join WTO. Russia's hopes of joining the World Trade Organization in 2011 has boosted significantly after the EU backed Russia's bid to join the trade bloc. Ooh, the trade bloc. That sounds something like Marx was talking about, wasn't it? Russia disrupts the U.S.-Japan war games. Russia jet fighters flying over the Sea of Japan have reportedly forced the U.S. and Japanese military to halt their ongoing joint war games in the region. That's pretty interesting news right there. China embraces stronger ties with Iran. Also more important news as we lead up towards 2012 and whatever the hell else the powers that be have planned for the global slaves, or global citizens as they refer to us as. Iran and China have stressed the importance of expanding Tehran-Beijing relations ahead of their 9th political consultation meeting in the Chinese capital. U.S.-led airstrikes kills Afghan troops, and yeah, they're not too happy about that. It says Afghans' faith in the U.S. ebbing, poll finds. Well, I wonder why. Israeli shelling injures 3 Palestinians. At least 3 Palestinians have been injured in an Israeli tank shell attack east of the besieged Gaza Strip. And the little attack kicked off yesterday. WikiLeaks' Texas company helped pimp little boys to stoned Afghan cops. Kind of a hard title to digest, but it's Dynacore, and we've all heard this before. If you haven't, the link is posted. Hackers rise for WikiLeaks. That's right. Cyber attacks seek revenge against organizations that have tangled with document leaking site. Moving on to Assange. Poison pill file impossible to stop, experts say. I'm going to keep moving on because I think this is more of a distraction. Assange file reveals extraterrestrial contact. A lot of extraterrestrial and space stuff going on in the news. This one is 24 countries that have smarter children than America, and they're mostly Asian and Scandinavian or Nordic. UN IPCC official admits we redistribute world's wealth by climate policy. Now, most of you have seen this, but Europe freeze death toll hits 60. Ted Turner urges global one-child policy to save the planet. Al Gore's climate group is shrinking. But Cancun climate change talks. Richard Branson calls for global carbon tax. There you go, guys. That's the whole point of these meetings, the peasant view of Cancun talks. They want to turn the air into a commodity. So that's what our stupid little conspiracy theorists think, huh? That's all we think of. That's what they're, this is a big hit piece, basically. As the world's politicians gather, protesters march against the Cancun climate change summit's, quote, false solutions, right? Check that article out. Massive propaganda. Man climate combined to erode Cancun's beaches. This is just like the Club of Rome document, right? Blame the human for the weather. UN's ban Kai Moon at climate talks. We need results now. In other words, we need a carbon tax. And peacekeepers likely cause of Haiti cholera outbreak, says half of European adults overweight. And lastly, Mr. Cheney, Dick, Nigeria charges former U.S. VP over bribery. Thank you, everyone, for joining GGN. Thank you.